You guys are always asking what it's like to look at a game very, very early on. Luckily enough, Loopmancer, a cyberpunk game from eBrain, is going to have a demo out very, very soon. I've got a chance to spend a lot of time with this, so I'm going to give you guys my impressions and ideas of it, but you'll also be able to download this as a demo from Steam and check it out yourself and what the thought processes are. As you guys know, I don't hold anything back, so this will just be my unfiltered thoughts. And this is, again, earlier than most previews would actually end up playing a game. Sometimes something can be too soon, though, and the demo idea I think is sound, but this game is pretty rough. It's a 2D platformer. It's also a hack and slash game. It's also a roguelike. It sort of takes a slice of life out of cyberpunk, throws it down into a 2D world, and tries to present itself as some kind of mix between that and, at times, even Metroid. Everything in the game looks generic. No matter what you're doing, who you're taking down, what character you're interacting with, that's not expected in a cyberpunk game. In fact, one of the hallmarks of the entire genre isn't really actually here, and that's a sense of identity. Getting some new weapons, taking out some new enemies. You see a dude here or there with a piece of steel welded to his face like he headbutted an old computer recycling can, but other than that, it never really gets going. That'll be something that'll be interesting to see as we move further on. That's cool, though. We can't all be winners. Let's face it, some of us have to watch the bar close every night. But this space isn't safe, I think, for anyone just leaping in, dropping the same terms as everyone else, sort of hoping to get away with it. What's fascinating here is we don't even have an end date. We don't even know when this game is actually coming out. So what we're seeing could be really one step above gray boxing, just after that moment in which they've decided the basic geometry and which they want to go forward and show at least some of the gameplay. We do get some pretty cool animations here or there. We get cool looking explosions and overall an identification that this is a cyberpunk game. But again, it doesn't really step up no matter what location you're actually playing in. Also, because it is so early, be expectant of a lot of FPS issues. Even on the 3080, sometimes it seemed to be related to the shaders. Other times it just seemed to be one of those issues with such an early game. Graphically, I will say this. I like the 2D aspect, and I like some of the animations for moving up and down the levels. I think that sort of looked cool and could be cool as we move forward. But man, there's a lot of rough spots. For example, the swinging animation, goddamn, that's like taking a time travel trip back to the 2600 days and playing Pitfall. That thing was rough. But I'm gonna hold out jury for it because you never quite know what you're actually getting. Talking about not quite knowing what you're getting, let's talk about the audio. Let's try to start with the good. Everything's fully voiced in the game, or at least apparently appears to be. There's some good inflection on some of the characters and what they read. And again, I said what they read for a reason because a lot of it does feel like script reading at this point versus really actually getting some vocal flair up in there. Sounds are mixed all over the place though, so be prepared for that. Again, because this is a demo, you guys are going to be playing the exact same version I am going to hit this pretty hard on this. They're letting this out for everybody. They're not calling it a gray box. They're not calling it anything like that. But this is pretty rough when it comes to the audio mixing in particular. You're going to hear people's voices climbing up and then dropping down to where you can't hear them all the time in this demo. But as you're moving around, as you're getting more of the story, I was actually impressed that there was going to be voice for everything. It's going to be very cool. I hope that continues. I like to see fully voiced characters in all these kind of games, even a 2D game like this, where, let's be honest, some genres, they skimp a little bit on some of these unique kind of identifiers for different characters. When you look at the audio itself, it's not necessarily great. You have some different sword attack sounds, some different gun sounds. I've been playing for a while, and I've felt that it's pretty mediocre overall for sound, but that could also be because it's connected to the mixing, which, like I said, when it comes to the mixing for voices in particular and some of those gun sounds, it's just all over the place. And gameplay, a little bit as well. You play as a father and husband who's lost a daughter due to a car crash, and I admit it's a bit fuzzy after that point. What it all has to do with your current work, we don't know, and hunting down bad guys, but regardless of the reason, you're leaping into 2D worlds and sections fighting enemies, hunting down bad guys, dying and returning and dying and returning again on the same morning with the knowledge that you have had before. 2D leaping, jumping, thumping, and humping your way across these large distances to bring a bit of death to the bad guys. You kill enemies, you collect enough items and money that you can buy skills that stick through the loop that you've already gone through before. It's not exactly untreaded ground. And speaking of ground, you're going to cover a lot. As you go up, you end up fighting up close. You have ranged as well cybernetic items that you can get, like a power palm strike. You can also get items like grenades, which, by the way, hugely useful in this game. It's hard to know where the game is going here at this time, because while you get these things and while you're getting all these upgrades and you're looking at the different way in which the characters sort of interact with one another, there's actually not a lot of enemies to fight in this game. When you are out there and you're running around, there are large swaths of the game that don't actually have enemies. They have a swing here or there and some running and jumping, which is sort of cool. But at the same time, if I bought this sweet samurai sword, I want to see how it slices through the dome of a bad guy. And if I can't do that every once in a while, it's a bit weird. Now, I'm not saying that there's no enemies. It's just a lower number than I thought there was going to be. The main character has those different attacks. When you're fighting, you have that. You have a dash button that's also dodge. And of course, your ranged and cybernetic moves. Those are tied to stamina. It's using these in combination to get a bit further in that next save point that's supposed to be the name of the game here. But even as a demo, it is hard to identify what Loopmancer really has going for it, other than a secondary, noticeable artistic connection to the Ascent or to Cyberpunk. It really hasn't got to that point yet. Even when you die and you go back to your apartment and you look around, you're like, hey man, this looks sort of cool, but it looks like every other Cyberpunk apartment in the world. What exactly are they trying to do? And I'm waiting to see what that actually is, because when I looked at the skill set that you can get and I looked at the items, I haven't really seen something tangible that's gonna, let's say, pull everybody together with this demo and say, man, this is the reason why we want it. I'm still excited to see it, because I don't ever want to get to that point to where we're like, you don't know what you got till it's gone, except for your memory, because, well, yeah. But it's especially noticed in the control segments. No matter what you're doing, when you're doing it, what weapon you're using, or how you're going around the game world, I'd love to see this get tightened up. It is using the analog stick, so there's a lot of different leeway that they have for that. But right now, it never exactly feels like it's doing what you want it to do when you want it to do it. But nobody wants to get to that spot. Nobody wants to get to the moment to where we're not getting these demos and we're not having feedback coming back in. This is something where I suggest everyone looks very closely at the Steam section and tries to see the response that the demo gets from the devs in the community section. This is something that would normally be shifted over to previewers, impressionists, people who play the game prior to anybody having a demo, and they would be giving that feedback through email systems as well as tickets to the developers. Here, you guys will be able to do so, and I suggest highly that you do if you want to see something change, and let's see exactly what kind of feedback we get from these guys. And that's the fascinating part right now, is you guys get to jump in with me and do this kind of stuff, and I hope to do this more with demos and early previews, as long as the demo's coming out, so that you guys can sort of get your hands on it as well. When we're looking at games moving forward, and especially this year, I think these kind of things are vital, and I want to see if they actually make that point. You guys can see it with me. This is an exciting time, especially, like I said, with this quieter time in 2022, the ability for gamers to be able to jump in, seeing more demos on Steam, seeing more demos across the various different services. This is phenomenal, but the feedback also has to be what I consider to be sort of in check. You have to understand where a demo is, and I would like to see this from other companies where they not only say this is a demo, but they really give you a big idea of exactly where it is in the development process, which I really couldn't find from these guys. That's fine. They're one of the first companies that I've seen really throw out a demo like this, where it got some PR head and stuff like that. It's not the first demo, of course, but it'll be very fascinating to see how this turns out. I hope you guys join me for this one. If you get a chance, join me in the Reddit, join me in Patreon, join me in the Discord. Let's jump in, let's play some games, role play in there, stream some video games, talk about movies, TV shows, do the same thing in the Reddit, do it on the Facebook, follow me on Twitter. Peace out. Hope you have an awesome 2022.